What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers. And joining me here today is the co-founder of 100 Yards Football, Mr. Football himself, Vincent Turner. Vincent, how you doing this afternoon? We're talking about a very enormous, ginormous, big prospect can't miss here. Cam Jackson, defensive tackle, coming out of Florida by way of the 901 in Memphis, where he played his early season. So first off, how you doing this afternoon? And give me your initial thoughts on this big man coming out of Gainesville, Florida.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you for all the outstanding job you've done for 100 yards of football over the last 3 years. We will not be doing what we're doing right now during the middle of the week. And I see you learning from me real well, young man. See, here at 100 yards of football, everybody wants to talk about the first round picks. If you go to every other website out there, every other media outlet, but here at 100 yards football, we always want to dig for the gem that nobody else is talking about. And when this young man on the screen sent me over the name, I said, oh my God, the 901. He played that 3 years. I'm very familiar with the young man because I follow the University of Memphis football program because I'm from there. And he did it at a time that I'm so blessed today and blessed to him because, you know, the University of Memphis is in the NCAA tournament. And Logan, guess who they playing?
Who they got? Who they got, Vincent?
Colorado State.
I know who Harper's going to be rooting for. I know who. I know how that one's going to go.
But let's get back to my man, Cam Jackson. Played 3 years at the University of Memphis. Big guy, 6'6", 328. At the University of Memphis, he had 69 career tackles in 3 seasons, but he had 5 sacks. But when you look at this young man, what I love about him, I think it's the most underrated defensive tackle in the draft. Size, 6'6", as I just mentioned, 328, A+. Strength, strong as a bull, A+. Ability to eat up space as a D tackle, A+. Middle of the defense guy who can lay down, tangle up 2 or 3 linemen, A+. And he's got a very strong football IQ, A+. Billy Napier wouldn't have took him as a transfer at the University of Florida, and he would have not started his only season in Florida. And he's got everything that you like about a D tackle, Logan. Quick first step. Back to you, Mr. Logan Landers.
Whenever I first was watching film, looking at Cam Jackson, obviously, like you mentioned, Vincent, the first thing that sticks out is his size. He's just a huge person. I mean, like I said, 6'6", anywhere from, like you said, 328, but I've seen some places list him as heavy as around 345 to 350. So really just depends on what's the diet going on for that week, if he's bulking up or if he's going to be a little bit more cut. So, but like you said, you can't miss him. And just kind of looking back at his history and some really good performances he had. So back in 2022 against some ranked opponents, he did well. He had 6 tackles against UCF, had 5 tackles against Tulane. So you saw early on in his career that he could swallow up space, like Vincent said, and he could make an impact. Then in 2023 against a team that only had 5 wins that year, Florida did. So a little bit of an off year for that team, but he still showed out. Best game was arguably against your team, Vincent, the other team, the Tennessee Volunteers, ranked number 11 at the time. He made his presence felt, 6 tackles, 5 of those being for solos, and he also was able to get some good work in there as well. But what I like about Cam Jackson, before I talk about what he did to impress in 24, the most recent year, where a lot more eyeballs got onto him, is like you said, he's just a large human. He's going to swallow up space. He's going to get those tackles. He's going to have a nice just mean streak at times, you know, and he's just going to get to, especially the running back. That's where his A+ is. That's where his he excels, is in run defense, because he's just going to be right there in the middle of the line and just, it's basically run up against the brick wall and best of luck, because you're not going to run through him. You might not even get around him, because as big as he is, he's really, really good in pursuit. He can track people down. I've seen, and it's a sight to watch, to where if someone bounces to the outside, Cam Jackson, I'm not saying he's step for step with him. He might be a step 2 behind, but he's right there with him. He can definitely catch up with a lot of the running backs in the tape that I've seen. I like that in 24, he was all over the place. He did really good work against Tennessee. He had 5 tackles there. Against Georgia, who was number 2 in the nation, had 3 tackles. Against Texas, he had 1 tackle. We know how good that Texas team was. LSU, 2 tackles. Ole Miss, he had 4. And then I think a lot of people can agree with this as well. Final game of the regular season, took on the Florida State Seminoles, and that's where he did some good work. 5 tackles, and then he also had only 2 sacks of the year against that FSU team, who we know it was just a rough year for them all around. Got invited to the Senior Bowl. He finished off his year with that and just did a really good job out there. Was super impressive, I thought. And I think that the sky's the limit for this young man. I think that, like you said, he's got that mean streak to him. He's strong. He's got good hands. He's a rap tackler. He's not going to, hit you with the shoulder. He's going to hug you, bear hug you with those boa constrictors he's got on his arms there. And he's going to bring you to the ground. He's going to do it with force. And it's just a really good, talented prospect. But Vincent, what are some more thoughts you have on Cam Jackson here as we kind of start winding down the show here? And just what are your final thoughts and just impressions you had after watching tape on this man from Memphis, but he did some good work in Florida as well, as we know.
He's from Haynesville, Louisiana, which is south of the Arkansas border, right there, Louisiana and Arkansas. There was a gentleman that came out of his hometown by the name of Doug Evans, who played with the Green Bay Packers. Same type of situation going into the draft, ended up being a starting cornerback on that Super Bowl team that the Packers won in New Orleans with Brett Favre. But there was a nose tackle that was on that team. Big guy that said the same thing about him, enormous guy who ended up becoming a very good football player. They called him the House, Gilbert Brown. I'm going to call Mr. Cam Jackson the Mississippi House down the Mississippi River out of Memphis, Tennessee. Excellent football player. I expect that when it's all said and done, might not go high in the draft, but you might be looking at a 10-year player playing at the defensive tackle position. Ends his career with the Florida Gators. Back to you, Mr. Logan Landers.
Well, just a couple more tidbits on Cam Jackson you see on the screen here, Vincent. So he got asked a question, said, what motivated you to accept the Senior Bowl's offer? Because he got accepted back-to-back years, actually, because he's a 5th year. So he got accepted. He didn't go his first year, but this past year he said, all right, let's go to it. Let's knock it out the park. So his response to that question was, there aren't many people where I come from that reach this level. This is a special opportunity for a kid like me, being able to take advantage of this opportunity. I'm going to have a great time, but I also want to show my city that anything is possible. And like you said, Vincent, he comes out of Haynesville, Louisiana, a population of just over 2,000. And his high school, he went to Haynesville High School, junior and senior high school. Vincent, grades 5 through 12, only 251 students when he was there. So a very, very small school. And Cam Jackson wants to, represent his city out there in Louisiana and Haynesville, show, anyone, don't matter where you come from, how many people go to your school, how many people are from your city, that as long as you work hard and stay humble, you can accomplish great things. And also, I think that's what I like about him too. He's humble in his answers because they asked him to really, what can you work on, right? What's something that you think is something that you can improve on? And he said flat out, he said, my strength is being able to stop the run. My weakness is being able to keep the pass rush. So that lets me know that he's not high and mighty, that, oh, no one can guard me. That tells me that he's willing to work. He's willing to go into practice. He's willing to go watch that extra game film that some people might not. And I think that is just a good combination and is what's led to his success in college and potentially in the pros. And Vince, I'm gonna take this from you. I know sometimes when we talk about prospects, you like to bring up songs, right? Over the weekend, we were talking about this, and just happened to come on my shuffle playlist, right? I'll go back in time, Vince. How about a little Hall of Notes? How about Maneater? Cam Jackson, the Maneater, because here he comes. Watch out, boy. He'll chew you up. He's a Maneater. Cam Jackson, defensive tackle out of Florida, can't miss. And I think that, like I said, he's not going to be a first-round pick. He's going to be middle of the round, maybe round 2 potentially if he moves up some, round 3. But I know one thing. Whoever gets him, they're going to get a tremendous run stopper, someone who, if you put him in the goal line, could be lethal, could definitely prevent some points, and a guy who's just going to work hard and do a good job and keep his head down to the grindstone and do his best he can each and every Sunday. So I'm excited to see where Cam Jackson's going to end up in the 2025 NFL Draft. Mr. Turner, your final thoughts here today before we get the show loose.
Go Gators.
That's it.
Congratulations to you, Mr. Cam Jackson.
Yes, sir.
Gators.
There you go. Hey, Cam, we hope you have a tremendous career wherever you go, and we're looking forward to see how you're going to produce in the National Football League. So, for our co-founder and co-host today, Mr. Football himself, Vincent Turner, I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please go like, follow, share, and subscribe on Facebook as well as on YouTube, and also go download our podcast every single week on the Believe Podcast Network. But you can find that in other places such as Spotify, such as Apple Music, and anywhere else you enjoy listening to shows. So, until our next NFL Draft Prospect episode, we'll see you guys again on another live